Thank you for listening to Chakras and Cusswords. This podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Anchor has sponsored, distributed, and helped me create a good podcast to you. So if you have been thinking about making your own podcast, I suggest you use Anchor. It's easy to use and it's free. So go ahead, create your podcast, and I can't wait to hear it. Thank you for listening. Welcome to Chakras and Cusswords, a podcast that dives into self-improvement, completing goals, and overcoming modern-day obstacles. I am your host, Katherine, and together we will address our fears, establish self-awareness, and complete self-growth through honesty and reflection. Remember to please like and share this podcast. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Katherine. I am the podcast host of Chakras and Cusswords podcast. I'm super excited to be having this room today. This room is all about the astrology for January 2023. The astrology dates for the whole year have actually been posted on the podcast. So if you're interested in listening to the full breakdown of astrology for the full year, go ahead and jump onto that podcast. It just came out today. But I'm super excited to go through some of the events that will be coming play in 2023 and in January. But this is just January. This is not the whole year. For the whole year's breakdown, you got to definitely check out that podcast. Please share out the room. Let everybody know that we're going to be breaking down some of the astrology dates for 2023 in January. So the month of January is really that area where so many people are like centered on like, let's make resolutions, right? Let's get into that area of resolutions. Let's get into that area of the dream board. Let's get into that area of the vision board. And a lot of it has to do with the ethic of what season we're in. We're in the Capricorn season, and the Capricorn is an amazing zodiac. The Capricorn is really known for having that place of strong worth ethic, but the Capricorns also have a lot of vision when it comes to like their life path. And that's really the area that we lead into when we go into 2023 in January. But in all honesty, like when I see a lot of people that are like so centered on creating this resolution and then they just kind of like hit the ground running and they're like, I'm doing all these things in the beginning of the year. But what happens is they tend to kind of get a little burnt out and they tend to kind of get in that space where it feels good in the beginning because they have that resolution, they have that intention, they have that insight. And then right around maybe February, March, it's like it kind of all comes out of play. And that energy, that solar plex energy that maybe they were really centered on kind of starts to like dwindle off, right? It starts to kind of fall into this place where it doesn't feel as accurate. So for 2023 in January, we have a lot of amazing events. And what we want to look at in the area of January is definitely business and also our area of love. We have a lot of love coming up, our relationships, our emotions, and also how we work with our community and our collective. So 2023 in January, in all honesty, like if you create a big intention or if you create a resolution, that's amazing. But have more of a place where it actually starts off a little slower. Like, don't be focused on, let's say it's related to working out or losing weight. That's always like a really big one in January. instead of devoting like 5 days a week to your new workout plan or devoting um, like 4 days a week, try to devote maybe 1 to 2 to 3. Like, just start to ease yourself into it. And that's, in all honesty, the energy of the Capricorn. The energy of the Capricorn has this strong rooted work base, but it also has this area where it stays stable and it doesn't get centered in creating too much spontaneous events, right? So on January 2nd, we have Venus enters Aquarius. And this dynamic is really kind of going to be centered on getting out and networking, especially around love and also especially around income. But really, it's more centered around relationships with people who are in your network and also in your social aspects. So if you've been thinking about possibly like meeting some new people or starting some new relationships, this is actually a time to start to become more involved in the social aspects of the community. So that could be possibly going to like a community event, or maybe even getting set up on a blind date, or going to a job convention, or going somewhere where it feels more collaborative. And then some of the aspects that I'm going to talk about are going to be centered around creating intentions for the year of 2023. Definitely for the whole year. So even though they're taking place in January, you're going to want to create them for the whole year. So another date that I really want to talk about is January 1st. A lot of people in the numerology and also in the cosmic circle, as one might say, the cosmic collective is like how I like to call it. They say that January 1st is one of the luckiest days of the year. And when we look at the energy of the new year, the new placement of new energy, we're going to want to kind of make our wish on January 1st, right? We're just going to kind of like say it to ourselves, maybe light a candle, depending on what zodiac element you are. Maybe if you're a earth sign, you're going to want to maybe do some grounding and just kind of say your wish to the universe, right? This is almost like the moment where you're kind of blowing out your candle or you're saying your wish for your birthday cake. This is that day that you're just going to kind of want to have that moment to you where it feels right. It feels aligned with your energy in 2023. And then, like I said, on the 2nd, we have Venus enters Aquarius, which is all about love and relationships and social aspects in the collective and making that alignment. For the date that is also very important is January 5th. So on January 5th, if you haven't started your dream board, if you haven't started your vision board, if you haven't started that wish or really that outcome of looking to new possibilities, on January 5th is going to be the day that you're going to want to kind of pick up that intention again, right? Use that productive energy. And the reason why is because we have the sun in Capricorn, which is all about that zodiac element of work ethic and having your life's path, really understanding that it's your destiny path, is trying with Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus is that area of revolution, that rebellious energy of creating something new and also creating that productivity. So it is a day that you'll be really using that mindset to overcome challenges. And also, when you have it with another zodiac that's as dynamic as Taurus, which is another earth element, it really creates that stability, that foundation in the roots, that foundation foundation in the earth element and also that foundation within you. Like we all have that root chakra energy, we all have that stability energy. It's just putting the productivity to it is sometimes the challenge, right? So just to let you know, if you felt like, oh, I should have did my resolution, I should have did my wish on the first, or I should have set some new goals towards love on the second, and for whatever reason we got busy, it didn't really happen. You got January 5th to kind of create that alignment. And I will tell you guys that we are going to be in Mercury retrograde during the first few weeks of January. But like I've told many of my listeners, don't freak out about Mercury retrograde. Just expect the delays and that center of feeling like you may have taken a few steps back, or you see a few step backs have been taken, but it shouldn't prevent you from manifesting, and it shouldn't prevent you from creating intentions. Eclipse season, that's a different type of energy. But for Mercury retrograde, we're still going to want to be productive. Mercury retrograde happens way too much for us to stop what we're doing. January 6th, we have a full moon in Cancer. This is a perfect time for you to create that area of comfort within the home of how you truly feel, especially how you truly feel on the emotional base, on that area of the feminine. If there's some dynamics that are happening with the relationship where maybe you feel like there's some domestic problems, or some areas where you haven't been feeling that appreciated, you're actually going to want to create and set intentions where your loved ones and the people in the home know exactly how you're feeling. This isn't a time to take it to social media, right? This isn't a time to do a rant. A lot of times that full moon energy kind of makes us very impulsive. We're not used to having such high illumination in our area space of emotions, and especially with our feminine emotions. But then when we have the illumination of the full moon, it kind of makes us want to be very outspoken, and it kind of makes us want to be very like in our outbursts. But this is a time to actually do an analyzation and also express it to the people in your home and the people who are in the collective with you on the domestic front. Also, one of the days that I really want to talk about is January 9th. Venus in Aquarius trines Mars in Gemini. So this is a big day. This is one of those days that you're going to want to put it on your calendar. You're definitely going to want to look at this date as a day that you see that you can go after all your dreams, right? So this is kind of the day that, like, if you're feeling like a little stuck, or you're feeling like a little bit like challenged, or you're feeling like for some reason you are missing like that magical component, right? This is actually the day that you're going to want to pick up that passion, you're going to want to pick up that center of achievement, and you're also going to want to look at it with the collective again. So if you are centered around business or community, or even if you have a storefront, you're going to want to get out there and really pick that area of aspects where you show your confidence, you show the beauty in what it is that you create. Also, you're going to want to communicate it with the others, and you're also going to really want to communicate it with yourself. When we have this area of Mars, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be some conflict or there's going to be a fight, especially with a trine. With a trine, it's more positive. It's more on that aspect of creating an alignment between the love you feel with the collective, the love you feel with your passion, and the way you communicate communicate it. So that's really what January 9th represents. On January 12th, we have Mars goes direct in Gemini. And this is maybe that area where you'll start to see, especially people who have been feeling a little bit shy on their communication, especially the Gemini placements. Also, we'll see it from the Aries and also the Scorpio. So, when we're seeing this direct movement of Mars, that means Mars is going back into its natural flow. It's going back into its forward movement. It's going back into that area space that feels very assertive, very maybe centered on solving different problems. It also feels very much like it's going to be that time where it's going to be like, no, we need to talk about it. So if you're feeling some dynamics where you haven't been opening up exactly how you feel with communication, especially with relationships, partners, or overall goals, during this Mars going direct is going to be that kind of intense energy where it's going to be like, now it's time to talk about it. And also about this day, we have Juno enters Aries, which is like a star asteroid, which is going to really make a lot of us feel more independent. So when this happens, this might even cause a little bit of conflict in the relationships, especially if the relationships have already been having problems, right? Especially if the relationships have already had that lack of communication, then we're going to really see it kind of come forward like, we can't deny it, we can't ignore it, now we need to talk about it. And that's going to happen around January 12th. Also, right around that time, on January 14th, we have Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus in Taurus. And I can't always talk about the days that are going to be the most beautiful and magical energy. We also have to talk about the days that we're going to see that conflict. We're going to see that obstacle. The days and the energy in the cosmos are going to feel a little bit more obstacle-ish. It's going to feel a little bit more unaligned with some of our communication and also with some of our friends. So on January 14th, we have Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus in Taurus. So if you've been feeling very anxious about being around a certain person, or maybe very anxious about being in a friend circle, or maybe somebody at work, or you just feel like that communication, or you just feel like that understanding of each other isn't really fully aligned, or maybe they're just not the right energy for you, which is, in all honesty, sometimes one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself, is to acknowledge, me and this person, we just don't really jive, right? I don't know. We just don't really, we're not really aligned, right? Like there's certain people we just do not have this flow with. We just, for whatever reason, there's things maybe they do that you don't like. Maybe there's things that you do that they don't like. But for whatever reason, this is going to be that area where it might feel a little argumentative. It might feel very stubborn. It might feel like it's kind of like my way or the highway kind of thing. And you see this dynamic kind of coming full forward. This is like the day that you're not going to want to like go on the neighborhood watch and like complain about like, or acknowledge like your neighbor's dog's always pooping on your yard, right? It's going to be that day that is going to feel like a little bit intense. So when this day happens, just remember that there's techniques that you can do, like breathing techniques. There's places you can go, like removing yourself from the situation. You also have that area where what you know is right with you is right with you, and just kind of let it boil over, right? Just don't engage. It's just always better to not engage. And if you see anything on the news this day, please let me know. Also on January 18th is another big day. So the Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is finally over. It starts on December 29th. I'm actually going to roll this podcast out probably around December 30th. And when we see Mercury going direct, for a lot of us, we're going to get that determination that maybe we let go of during the beginning of the time where we were in December. Maybe we were in a slump and we were just kind of like, I don't want to plan a resolution. I don't really have intentions, or you're just feeling like at a slower pace, or you're feeling like everything that is going wrong, right? Like you're really feeling like that when it rains, it pours type mentality. And it happens to the best of us, right? But what we want to acknowledge is not only Mercury goes direct, but we also have the sun in Capricorn conjuncting Pluto in Capricorn. So Pluto is still in Capricorn until probably the spring, and then towards the spring, Pluto's going to hop on over to Aquarius. So right now, we're actually going to pick up that mojo once again and say, get me out of this Mercury retrograde slump, just because everything that was kind of going wrong is going wrong. But now I have a game plan. Now I have a strategy. Now I have stability where I can create my own change. I can create my own dynamic. I can create my own transformation with rebirth and a new area of closing some chapters and opening some new. So look at your goals, look at setting that forward step to really taking the first step to that pathway, that first step to your dream state, that first step to really saying, like, hey, if Mercury retrograde kind of got me, it's time for me to say, I'm done with you, Mercury retrograde. You're not going to affect me anymore. And I'm back to complete my goals. I'm back to complete my areas of moving forward, and really have it towards, if you want to do a full transformation in 2023, there's nothing wrong with doing a full transformation. A lot of us don't like change. And when I left the emergency room, I didn't like change. I was so scared of leaving the emergency room. I was so scared of leaving, working as an emergency room nurse. It was like very terrifying for me. Like, would I make enough money? Will I be hating, doing other things? Will I be hating the job that I'm in? What will I do? Just, will I be bored? Just a lot of that area of doubt, self doubt, really pulls up when we are centered around making transformational change. But I will say, if that's something that you're looking forward to doing, this is the day that you're going to want to update your resume. Maybe throw away that old resume and create a new one. Also, that would be the day that you maybe put your name out there on different social media platforms, or send somebody an email that you've been thinking about working with, or picking up that area of looking at contracts towards purchasing a home, or looking back at the idea of like cleaning up your credit so you can purchase a home. And I will tell you guys that purchasing land and real estate, if you have the opportunity to do it in 2023, or it should be something that you should do. And that's kind of the area that I've been telling a lot of people, like, to start saving your money. Prices are going to continue to go up. I've already acknowledged that a few times. I know right now gas is nice, but it's going to continue to go up into 2023, 2024. So just have that notion that they change certain things for certain reasons. And when I say they, it's like corporations, people who really have the control of the overall bigger area of socialization of the communities. But right now it's feeling good, but once, January's over, Christmas is over, it's probably going to go back up, especially um so be mindful of that. January 20th, we have the sun enters Aquarius. So this is a good time for us to take in our area of initiative and our area of being friendly, of enjoying our own energy. The Aquarius is a very dynamic zodiac. It's very unpredictable, and it's also a zodiac that is into new things. So, I was just having a conversation about like how if you've noticed a lot of banks are actually starting to like shut down a little bit, right? And maybe they only have ATMs, or they only have not really the whole aspect of going into the bank, right? So the people that this is really affecting is the older population, right? This is affecting like the 70-year-olds, the baby boomers. This is really affecting them because they have a hard time of understanding something new. They have a hard time of learning the technology, learning the new initiative, learning the unpredictable, right? So, for somebody who is in this age element or in this century base, now this new technology is coming away, this new energy is coming away, where maybe, let's say, the bank that they used to have at their local shopping center has now shut down. So, instead of being able to deposit their check, um, in the bank, now they're going to have to travel further. So it is creating this area of dynamic and obstacles for a lot of people in our community. But this is what happens when technology enhances. This is what happens when certain aspects continue to grow, that we see this dynamic where it's not going to work for everybody. And what the overall goal is that they reach out to the younger population, right? The Gen Zs or Gen X, and also the millennials. And they reach out to this population because they know this population has a cell phone. This population knows how to scan their check and deposit it. They reach out to this population because they know this population, they don't really even use that much cash. Barely, rarely. Most of it is centered off of Venmo, PayPal. So they see how they can use technology. And we will see a lot of change, especially with Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, that will affect the whole collective, the whole the whole community, everybody. Also, on January 21st, following the sun enters Aquarius, we're also going to see the new moon in Aquarius. This is a perfect time for you to create intentions towards learning something new, and also towards love and relationships, and creating that passion where you can say, I have an area where I am learning something new. That could be spiritually, that could be community based, that can be maybe gardening, whatever it is that you seek towards something new, a new love, a new exploitation of learning something new, maybe a new travel, going somewhere new. But for this new moon in Aquarius, please jump out of your comfort zone and try something new. And that could be in the passion house, career house, technology house, but please make it new. On January 22nd, we have Uranus goes direct in Taurus. This is a beautiful time for us to really look at some of our old thinking processes and kind of eliminate them. It is also a good time to look at some of the old thinking processes that may have clashed in our relationships or in our business, and let go of them. Also, we have Venus enters Pisces on January 26th. I'm excited for the Pisces season that will come up in after Aquarius season that will happen in February. I'm very excited for Aquarius season. I'm very excited for Pisces season, especially when we start to get into those upper house zodiacs. I feel like there's going to be a lot of new things coming out. There's also going to be a lot of dynamic with relationships. Also, something that I want to say is for Venus enters Pisces, this is really that time that you take that relationship aspect that feels very dreamlike, that feels very seductive, romantic, and you take that leap, but you don't do it naive, right? So, like, if you're getting like this strong passion to maybe like get engaged, or everything feels so romantic and feels just so beautiful, it can be, and you can definitely have that area of romance where it feels gorgeous. It just feels like everything you dreamt of, right? But don't be so centered on the fairy tale aspect. So it's like, don't be so centered on the wedding date. Be centered on the marriage. Be centered on that long path that moves past the dreamy state and takes in its intentions towards the long haul, especially when we have Venus enters Pisces. Everything's going to feel super romantic, super dreamy, and it's going to make us feel a little maybe where we act a little bit too impulsive and we kind of become a little bit too naive. So don't concentrate just on the wedding date, but concentrate on the actual marriage. On January 29th, we have two major aspects happening that I want to talk about. We have a Sun in Aquarius, trines Mars in Gemini. So, this is a perfect time to actually get out there, create some communication with people you've never met before. Like, you're going to want to plan towards a new flow of positivity. So that could be maybe like starting a new Facebook group, especially if you're like centered in communication, starting a um, clubhouse house. If you have a collective that you really want to reach out to, you're going to want to start to do stuff like that. Also, on January 29th, we have Mercury in Capricorns trines Uranus in Taurus. So this is a day to not be afraid. Not be afraid with our communication, especially all around with the Mercury element. This is really going to affect the Aquariuses, Scorpios, Aries, Geminis, and also Capricorns and Taurus. So if you are one of those zodiacs and you've been feeling like a little fearful about everything, try not to be, and just have that area where even if you even if you don't feel completely guaranteed in it, it's okay. You can definitely transition. And I want to talk about a quick quote before I close out this room by Dolly Parton. And I actually shared it on my TikTok. So since it is Capricorn season and we're still in Capricorn season, and Dolly Parton is a Capricorn, if you listen to the podcast about Capricorn season, she acknowledged something that I thought was really amazing when she talked about her career. For those who don't know, Dolly grew up very poor. She didn't have much money. She grew up in, I can't remember where she grew up, but she grew up where her family didn't have enough money. She had a very strong work ethic. And somebody said to her, "How did you know to continue to work this hard? How did you know to try all these new things, right? To really put yourself out there as a songwriter, as a singer, as somebody who was very much in a male dominant, role back then, especially with country music." And she said, well, basically, I had nothing to lose, right? I had nothing to lose. I just worked hard, and I knew that if it was going to happen, it was going to happen, and I had nothing to lose. And that's really the aspect of this energy alignment on Jan 29th. If you're feeling fearful about change, remember you have nothing to lose, right? You have nothing to lose. You can always get that energy back. You can always move into a different direction, and don't be afraid of something new. So I want to thank everybody for coming in to this room. And I also want to thank everybody for listening to Chakras and Cusswords podcast. And thank you guys so much. And everybody have an amazing day. Bye.